We're live. And so right now I got Sam Kramer on Dad with a Phone, and I'm pretty stoked about this. I first want to go off and say thank you, Sam, because Sam is a busy man and has a lot on his plate and a lot going on in this this area of the country right now. So hey, thanks, Sam, for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we got a couple of people watching, but you guys just put your questions in chat. I got some people watching the questions, but we're going to go through a little bit and just we never really get to interview the media, and right here in front of us, we literally have the media. So, Sam, how'd you get into all this stuff, man? Why news? Why broadcast like you do?
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it brief. When I was in sixth grade, my elementary school got a grant, and that grant put a TV in every single classroom in our school, and it put a single broadcast camera in the library. And so a lot of schools have, just a staff or a faculty member read off the day's announcements, and our school decided to kind of use this broadcast camera as a mini newscast, if you will. To this day, I'm not sure why they, why we got that, but for whatever reason, they picked me to be kind of the anchor, so to speak, which was cool. I didn't. It's not like I applied for it or anything, but it happened, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was really cool to kind of be in the know. And at that time, I was like, okay, this makes me a little bit more popular on the playground. Like, this is good. Nice. But that's not why I kind of stuck with it. I thought it was really interesting to tell stories and kind of be trusted in doing that. High school had a very extremely well developed program. Like, we have a full studio there. I still go back there and talk with those classes. And so knowing that I wanted to do it from sixth grade growing up in Wisconsin, it kind of made things a lot easier. So I from there went to the University of Minnesota on a broadcast journalism major. Graduated early there, and then I thought in college my internships were in sports. My whole focus was sports. Grew up as an athlete. Why wouldn't I want to do anything else? Or why would I want to do anything else rather? And and then just hit the job market in January of 2016. And there's not a lot out there for sports, not in today's day and age. There's a lot fewer opportunities, and I took a job. A mentor I'll never forget, he told me, he's like, there was a job offer in Rapid City, South Dakota. I'd never been to South Dakota. I didn't even actually know where Rapid City was before I got the job, or before I was interested in this job. And he said, it's kind of like a prom date. It's better to have one than not. You need that first job. So I took that first job, and it was in news. It was just a general summer reporting job. They told me over my 2-year contract, like, I might become a weekend anchor at the end of it. I ended up becoming a main anchor about 9 months in, fresh out of school. That's not something that happens often. And so I was there for about 1 year and 9 months. Wanted to make another move. I've always kind of had big market aspirations. And so I was looking at a few different cities, and Colorado Springs was the best option. So I ended up at Channel 5, News 5 in January 1, literally, of last year. So, and that's how I'm here.
Boom. And now he's on Dad with a Phone. Sam, you're a freaking overachiever, and it's okay, man. It's I'm not gonna rat him out, but I think Sam's like 23. And so
I'm 25 now.
Oh, 25.
Yeah.
Sam's 25. So it's awesome. I mean, we're super lucky here in Colorado Springs. And then, a lot of people obviously are watching because over the last year, your life has been consumed by one case. Now, you've done other broadcasts, and you're a news anchor for Channel 5, so you've done other stuff. But there's been, one story. And how did did they draw your name out of a hat? Did you volunteer? Did you say, hey, I want to follow this case? How did that come about? Because I know in the news world, and we may have even joked about this early on, it's competitive. Everybody wants the next thing. So how did you get coverage on the Kelsey Berreth story?
Yeah, so we are competitive people by nature. You wouldn't be in this business if you're not. And I remember that introductory press conference they had. I want to say it was December 10th, even though they announced the investigation on the 2nd or 3rd.
Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, and so I was back home visiting a relative, but we kind of heard rumblings about it the week before, and so it was something that I was aware of. I don't remember what day I got back into town, but Thursday was that first vigil up at Memorial Park in Woodland Park, and I was the only night side reporter. So real quick, we've got 3 shifts. There's a day side, which is about, you kind of 9 to 6. There's a night side, which is about 2 to 11, and then there's overnight morning show, which is people get in like 3 a.m. and they're there till about noon. So I was the only reporter kind of handling our 10 o'clock show, and that was the big event going on. And I was like, yeah, we need to go. And kind of leading up to that, we hadn't had a whole lot of success in door knocking, and that's exactly what it sounds like, knocking on doors around Kelsey's townhome, and just trying to find someone that knows something.
Yeah.
And I forget what day it was, but I was able to find someone who placed a man matching Patrick Frazee's description in his pickup truck at the house. So it seemed at that point, to validate his story. And I was like, well, that's interesting. A lot of people are already kind of painting him as the one responsible. I just felt like there was more, and we had heard about the cell phone stuff, and just it was just this incredible mystery. I mean, you know Woodland Park better than I do, but this is a town that prefers its privacy. And so when you have something like this, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a private town, but it's still small enough where a lot of people know each other. So how could something like this happen?
Yeah.
And so I remember coming back from the vigil and kind of talking to my bosses, and I was like, look, I'm not done with this. And it's a little selfish, but I just felt like we could be, like, if I gave it an effort, it might be different. And that's not to knock any of my colleagues or anything, but
absolutely,
we all have different approaches. We're all different people, so that's why. But
so you bid for it. You felt a connection to this case and was like, man, I'm going to go at it. I'm going to go to the boss. I'm going to say I want this.
Yeah. I just thought there was more opportunity to keep telling the story, because if you keep telling the story, you're, especially with a person that's missing at that point, you're keeping them in the limelight, and that's what their family wants. That's what police wants. It's a kind of an all-encompassing thing. Yeah. So I just felt I needed to keep doing this, because
when this thing there. Yeah. So like, I can't remember which press conference it was, but it was the first. Maybe I had made comments, or maybe I hadn't, but I remember walking into one of those press conferences that happened here in Woodland, and you said something to me. You said, "Hey man, how's that social media channel coming?" I don't know if you remember that or whatever, but I remember walking in and you said that to me, and I knew you were a news guy, but you were the only news person in that room at that time that even acknowledged or even asked who I was. You obviously had seen the social media thing. And so I just want to ask, what did the media think of me? Like, from a media guy, and then from all the stuff that happened? I mean, you listen and you're around. You don't have to tell me what individuals said, but what did the media think of me?
Well, I'll speak for myself.
There you go.
I can't speak for anybody else, but
there you go.
We've kind of seen, we've watched from afar how you kind of have your finger on the pulse of the town, And so it made sense that you were there. And in today's day and age, there are so many blogs, so many vlogs, so many this and that. There are micro pockets of journalism everywhere. So,
and you know this better than anyone. 25, you're an internet kid. You grew up in the blog age, the vlog age. You are definitely on see that. So that's cool. I don't want to drag on to that, but I hear you. It's not even abnormal anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in any city, there's guys that are doing something, or there's somebody on a blog doing news or in their own way. So it's just, you guys understood what was happening from afar.
It's fairly normal now. And it's about any town, really.
Yeah, and this isn't my first time to talk with KOA or any of those news stations, so I'm sure they had an idea of who the underground was and stuff already. Mm-hmm. I had sent stories to all of them before. Cool, man. So we get into this case a little bit, and all of a sudden it becomes boom, it's world news. It's not even just national news. It's all over the world. What happens, or I'd like to know the secret, how that happens, because I feel like it's like it's this one. Why this young lady who went missing? Why this little town? Why not? It doesn't happen with everyone who goes missing. So why was it that this case kind of blew up? Do you, as a professional, do you think?
I think for us, at least the biggest thing for me was that on the outside, everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. Of course, we know now it was anything but.
Yeah.
But how could on a holiday, how could a mother just go missing, abandon her child, not have contact with people? How's her phone get all the way to Idaho without really any indication of how it got there? Again, we know now how it got there.
Yeah.
At the time, it didn't make any sense. I met a cell phone expert through a different story, completely different story. But I remembered he was a cell phone expert, and I was like, "Explain this to me. How the heck does a phone ping, and is ping even the correct term, and all this? Some 800 miles away. How does that even happen?" And he kind of broke it down for me, and so, not to be cliche, but the mystery of it all, I think, is what captured a lot of people.
Okay.
Kind of younger. It's, as far as we knew from the beginning, engaged. Everything was going well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. Of course, you have and kind of this mountain town, right? A small mountain town. So you add all that together, and I think you have a mystery that hooked a lot of people.
Especially in this area, for sure, for the local guys. And then it just, I guess that just, you guys did a good job, and it just caught on over the nation. And have you seen, because you didn't cover any cases before, this is the first big case you've covered?
My first live shot for my South Dakota station was about a murder for hire investigation. I couldn't even wrap my head around that at the time. But from start to finish, this is the first thing I've really covered from,
Yeah, watching it go through and see it and knowing the details.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't normal. I mean, the news doesn't go to everybody's court date. They don't go to every murderer's court date. So it had to have been something that just captured for an audience for you guys. And that's awesome. And I know, and and even things we've said, like I asked you one time, did you see this one clip of this show that came out? And then I think my next comment was, or what did I think? And then I said, man, we lived it. And you lived this case. And tell people, I mean, they watch online, they watch the news, they do their little thing, they get on here and they look at all the details and they look at the discovery. But the feeling you got when you were in that pre-trial, The one that I wasn't there, my wife was there. That's the one they named as a witness. And Crystal and Greg Slater tells for the first time Crystal's story. And you heard her story for the first time in that. You were in there.
The preliminary hearing.
Preliminary. When you heard that story that then would go across the airwaves of the candle and the bat and stuff, emotionally, what kind of connection, or at that point, what happens in your mind,
So you walk into it knowing that, okay, so the basis of a preliminary hearing is that prosecutors have really the entire day to prove that they have enough evidence to charge Patrick Frazee with murder. Okay, so you walk in knowing that they have, presumably, a story, and you're ready for whatever that is. I don't think I was ready for how gruesome it was. And I actually think I said that on the air that night. It's not, I don't know. I don't even know how to put words on it. I mean, there's just kind of the gruesome details of beating someone with a bat, but then not stopping there. Getting someone to clean up the crime scene. And, of course, Crystal had her hearing before then, so we knew she was involved. And then going and burning the body and creating this elaborate plan, like something out of a movie.
It really was. It was like
in a small century-plus-old courtroom in small town, mountain town, Colorado. Blows your mind.
Tell me about that. I mean, I don't want to dwell back and forth on this, but tell me about the small mountain town. You drove up here a lot in the last year. You've been up the road a lot.
Yeah. Sure.
So, okay, I'm going to ask some just random questions. Did you ever take the 4-mile dirt road, or did you always just stay on the asphalt?
Always on the asphalt.
Always on the asphalt.
On the way back one time, I was behind a semi, and he kind of rolled over it. I had it between his wheels, but there was a boulder out in the road, and I didn't see it in time, so I actually popped a tire on the way back once. But
you had a flat on the way back from Cripple Creek. What else? Anything else? Did you see anything else stick out to you that you remember in the drive, or has it just become routine?
No, well, I mean, it is routine, but it still sticks out. I mean,
Sam froze. Sammy froze. I don't know if he froze on y'all. He froze on me.
There we go.
No, you're back.
A lot of times when we were going there, it was so early in the morning that it was still dark.
Yeah.
So you get the lights of Cripple Creek, and then you wake up and you get a pretty nice sunrise. There's that little. It's not a cave, but it's on that pass.
Oh yeah, the tunnel. That's the old tunnel. That's the old pass, the old railroad pass.
Yeah. So I've driven past that. I mean, that's really cool to see it. I like the woodwork they got.
Yeah. So you kind of just you recognize that when you drive by, kind of thing.
Yeah, you know the landmarks.
What's your favorite restaurant in Cripple Creek?
I mean, I can honestly say there wasn't a bad place that we ate. I liked Maggie's though.
Maggie's. Yeah, nice. And sweet. As this case went on, we'll just jump around here because everybody's back and forth. But as this case went on and the details came out, even with Crystal's testimony, when it got to trial, what was, I don't know, maybe it happened earlier than trial, but what was your biggest aha kind of moment? Like when you went from, when did you think, oh, this is they got him, or did you have that moment? Was there any point that you were like, oh, he's guilty and they got him before it was over? Or did you stay? I know you, as a journalist, you stayed open, but I'm talking about Sam here.
Yeah, no, I mean, professionally, and I've said this a number of times. I did not want to convict him before the judge did. And I think a lot of people rush to judgment, and that's fine. You can have your opinions, but as a journalist, you really can't have an opinion, at least showing your work. For me, when you got to look at some of the search warrant stuff involving the cell phones, I thought that was interesting. And at the time, I didn't really understand it, so I went back to my cell phone expert, and it was like, explain this to me. And that's kind of what actually ended up doing that a lot, not just with him, but with lawyers and former detectives, and just because of the kind of secrecy involving this case. But anyway.
Well, no, don't stop there. So secrecy, explain that. What made this case different? Why do you think, and was it secret? Like, first of all, is this different than other cases?
Yeah, extremely. You look at courtrooms across the country, and they allow cameras in, and there's not a real kind of hush-hush effort on the press, on the public, sealing affidavits. And I've noticed in Colorado, a lot of jurisdictions will seal the affidavits, the arrest documents, and everything that comes with those. I mean, the search warrants even were sealed, and it was just it was like they were not like they were hiding something, but like they were protecting something. And I think as you go along, it kind of makes sense. We did a story shortly before the trial arrived about no body murder conviction rates. And that was one of the most interesting things we did, because I think a lot of people just automatically assume no body. How the heck are they going to prove that he's guilty of this?
Actually, Patrick we would find out, would say, hey,
that's true.
No body, no crime.
Yeah, he was part of that thought process, but it actually is the complete opposite. And hearing that story kind of explained everything else. And this expert, who used to be a prosecutor in DC, said, look, prosecutors are only going to take these cases because they know they have a really strong case. It's like, okay, that makes sense. We have a good idea of what they have, but we don't know everything that they have. And then to hear it all come out in trial was like, that was a lot. I've told people that it's not that the case wasn't real before, but it became even more real twice.
Yeah.
First time was the preliminary hearing, actually 3 times. First time was the preliminary hearing. The second time was when Crystal Kenny was off the stand, and the third time was the jail notes. And for me, the jail notes were really kind of that take you over the finish line piece of evidence. I asked prosecutors about that. They thought the case was pretty solid as is, even before those came in. But to me, if you're aware and you're conscious of your guilt,
hey, me personally, I thought the jail notes were a weak thing until I saw the jail notes. Like when I saw them and they released them, I began to think, oh, these are very strong, because this is easy to match to Patrick's writing. I have only seen a sample of Patrick's writing, and I was like, oh, this is easy. But the other thing I thought was weak about it was because, yeah, anyone in jail could come up with a story about, if that jailhouse snitch would have just gone and said, Patrick told me this stuff, nothing. But because he had it in writing, it all became something very, very special. And when I saw the notes, I then began to think, oh, they did have this locked down. Even if the motive of the other guy was to get some leniency, to get something, even if the motive in any way, shape, or form, they had this, these notes were detailed enough that I knew Patrick had written them, and just by a glance or two, And
well, here's the thing too. So there's a projector in court, and so you see all that. So we saw that as it was happening, and having seen some of the stuff that we have for better part of a year, I knew right away. And here's the other thing: it's not like the defense was denying that this was even.
No,
they were fighting the admissibility of it.
Yeah,
but they were not fighting the legitimacy.
Well, and that's even in the closing statements. I can't help it that he's an idiot, He's an idiot, So no, they didn't even fight the legitimacy of it. And so once you knew those were legit, it wasn't good at all. Yeah, and it wasn't even me thinking that they were weak that way. It's just that old cliche, we got him with the jailhouse snitch thing. No, they really did get him and lock in that case. Obviously, they had I think a strong enough case too. It's crazy, like to think how not only Crystal's story was crazy at first, like, is this real? And I remember Greg Slater even said, this isn't logical or linear the way I'm telling this. He even said this just doesn't make any sense. But then all of a sudden, here's a piece of evidence that kind of backs up her story. Here's a piece of evidence that backs up her story. And to see them build that case, I'll be honest, it was a credit to Dan May and the team and all those people to see that happen, because I was worried in and out of what was happening, whether or not they were going to be able to get him. And so it was cool to see all that. Did you ever have any doubts?
Doubts in the fact that
he might get away with it?
I mean, I think that's always in the back of your mind. I guess I didn't really have the fullest perspective of it until I started looking into those no body murder conviction rates.
Yeah.
And then once I heard that, I was like, okay, well, that's a really high number. It's 88%, which is higher than a normal.
Anything.
I don't know how to use that term, but a murder with a body as evidence. That's about 70%. So once I found that out, I said, okay, well, then I think they have a better chance. And here's the thing. Dan May's been a prosecutor for a very long time. And knows what he's doing. Were there questions because of the secrecy, the sealing of documents? Sure. I don't think, any reasonable person would not have questions, about, do they really have that strong of a case? Why don't they just show it all out there? This sort of thing. I didn't touch on it earlier, but I think another part of that was they understood that, okay, this isn't just getting Colorado Springs Pueblo attention. This is not just getting Denver attention. This is not just getting national attention. It's everywhere. So in Tyler, you got to protect the option for a jury, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't want to move it, but nonetheless.
Yeah. How much do you think social media played in the realm of the word being spread, of this case, or do you give most your credit to traditional medias?
It's a combination of both. Where that line is drawn, I'm not sure. Because, you look at Twitter, you look at Facebook today, and those are the two big ones I'll use because probably the most popular. A lot of agencies, whether it's police, sheriff's office, fire, I mean, even, military, naval base, look at what happened yesterday. A lot of them turn to social media to put a word out, a first response, if you will. My biggest thing too is like Amber Alerts. Amber Alerts pop up on your phone ASAP. And then as a news agency, we try to flip that around into this exact same thing. I think whenever someone goes missing, social media today does more to put that person's face out there. For a television station, think about it in a true TV sense. We're only on certain blocks of the day. That's why there's been such a big push for digital, but also our social media. And so, I think it's a combination of the two. Again, I don't know exactly how to break it down.
No, it worked out and it's going to lead me right into the next thing is, bro, I mean, the Facebook Lives. I got to ask one question because I have a question. Were you taking just your notes, or did you have some of them other fast writers and everybody handing you notes and you compiled them a little bit? On your phone, bro. Sam is, man.
So here's the thing, and actually you catch me right in action. So the laptop that I have doesn't have a good battery. So I have to, I kind of have to manage it more than I would like to, including right now. A lot of people. Well, no, I was the only person in there. Don't mind me plugging my.
Yeah, plug that laptop in.
Let's see. I was the only person that took notes on my phone.
Okay.
And I understand that's a very millennial.
Bro, internet kid. They get those old reporters that were there. They better watch out. The internet kids moving through. Because when I heard you do those live videos, first of all, I want to just say, hey, that's a special thing for news people. I've talked about this, but I think it was a turn for at least KOAA that allowed you to broadcast from your personal brand page, and you did some excellent live videos. But taking notes on the phone, that was it.
Yeah, yeah. It was. My thumbs would start to go numb. Probably like day 6, day 7, give or take. And the days all kind of blend together now.
Yeah, it's
the afternoon, evenings, like your thumbs are just raw. So that was the fastest way for me to keep along, and kind of thing. And here's the thing, with the preliminary hearing, we were allowed to live tweet, and that was a shell shock.
When they took that.
Well, no, just tweeting everything as it was coming out. It was, you couldn't believe it, right? As it was coming out.
Like, yeah.
What am I even typing? Like, how is this even a? I guess I'm kind of young and naive to think that.
Trust me, when you tweeted my name, if it hadn't been you, I'd be like, everybody's making this up. But then when you were like, they just called Michael Dalton as a witness, I'm looking at Twitter driving up the road going, that's crazy. So when you say she swung a bat and candles or whatever, it's a horror film.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so to then kind of build that onto the trial.
Oh, yeah.
You're walking into the trial knowing, okay, there's no audio video recording on Courthouse property, including the immediate streets right around it.
That's crazy.
It's a little extreme. No live reporting. No, you're not. So to that end, no live reporting on property. So to follow the decorum order, you have to go outside across the street. And so what I did was I typed everything into an email, unaddressed. When I go outside, I type it in, send it to our folks, our Denver affiliate, and actually an Idaho affiliate. And so they were all operating off the same
notes.
Yes, and there's a lot. There's a lot there. So my thing is.
So they got all those when you were reading from your notes, and you would like read the text messages. Your affiliates got all of that via an email right when it was easy. At the breaks. Yep. So that's kind of how that went down. And then you would read from those when you started these live videos.
Yeah.
How did you have to get permission for that?
So before the trial began, we kind of discussed a coverage plan, which every station likely did.
Yeah.
And we brought it up, and I was like, "Well, guys, I don't want to work from sunup to sundown, like just kicking it every day." That's exactly what we did.
Yeah, you did that anyway.
It seemed like it was the best thing to do because, look, the powers that be have limited just about all of our resources as to how we can effectively report. Best case scenario, we would have had a live blog going the entire time. Like we did for the preliminary hearing.
Yep.
But that wasn't an option. So, you send back 4 emails a day, put out notes here and there. And I just thought, for me, like we could do, my boss was like, what do you think about a lunchtime live? And I said, well, that's the thing. Like you get live or you get lunch. It's both because it's an hour. You got to charge your device. For me, I got to charge my phone. eat, and by the time you get out there and you type everything on Twitter and on Facebook, it's like 10, 15 minutes in, and the judge only gives about 65 minutes for lunch, and then you still got to go back in through security. That's another thing too. Every time you go out to send a dispatch, you got to come back in. So, wearing slacks, dress shirts, sweaters, vests, and tennis shoes, because my dress shoes or my boots are going to go off every time. I don't want to take them off every single time. That's just not practical when you're forcing us to go outside and back inside every time. So it was a lot. But to get back to the vlog, if you will, we kind of had a discussion, and my thought was this: look, broadcast, we are limited by our newscast windows. Digital, we are not. And when the public is really being kept out of the courtroom, unless you have the means to go sit in, ditch a job or whatever, take PTO, or like me, get paid to cover it, you're not gonna hear everything. And here's the thing too: when you subtract the breaks, when you subtract the lunch, you got about 6 hours of testimony. And the judge was very adamant. Judge Scott Sells was very adamant about not going past 5 o'clock ever.
Yep.
Really. And so it's like, okay. When you subtract breaks, when you subtract lunch, you got 6 hours. You're packing 6 hours into like 60, 90 seconds at 5. Take a breather real quick. For me personally, 5:30 Q&A with Court TV. That was about 10 minutes long. Okay, take a little bit of another breather, charge your batteries a little bit more. 6 o'clock live shot with our people. Okay, everyone else is leaving. I'm still kind of hanging out, thinking about what I'm going to say. 6:30 Q&A with our anchors. And then real quick, depending on if we thought that the headline from that day is big enough or not, I would record what we call look live, which is, it looks like I'm live, but I'm not live at night, because you really can't tell. And so it's a long day.
It's a long day. And then you got home and did.
And all those live shots, which there's about six or seven right there in the evening, you're still not going to cover everything.
No.
For instance, the day the jail notes came out, the man that went before him, who was the bloodstain expert, was actually pivotal to the case. He was. But he was completely overshadowed by the jail notes, because you see the jail notes and you're like, oh my gosh. But, so something like that, it's like, okay, we got to get this out there. And so I thought of a video blog to do at the end of the day. We didn't do it for day one because day one was on a Friday.
Yeah.
So there was travel back and forth as opposed to just staying up there. I didn't do it for the day I was gone, obviously, but then came back and capped it. But we thought that would be the best way to give as thorough of a recap of what happened that day. Again, because there are such strong limitations on what we can do in the heat of the moment. If it was a perfect world, we would get everything out as it was happening.
The video, they would have had a camera in there.
True, we would have even been able to provide video and not just have to trust my word. I was there, I saw it, la-di-da. So we thought, given the circumstances, that was the best thing to do. And I think that was really strong. Because and here's the other thing too. And I've said this before on our Facebook Lives, is it wasn't just me. Like, I was taking the notes, I was doing the live shots, but we have a digital team back at the office that is receiving these emails and going, okay, here we go, let's turn this into an article.
Oh yeah, I got
questions and this and that, because if I had to do that too, my hair would be gray already. So
no, but the information was you. The information was coming from your perspective, from the perspective of you sitting in there, and yeah, you got that's It's Clayton Sandell. I said it. He called me dad with a phone, and I said, "Oh, you're just dad with a camera crew," you know. And it's the same thing with you. You got a crew of people. Sam's got a crew of people. I know you don't like Clayton, but we don't have to talk.
No,
about
no,
it.
he's cool.
I'm just kidding. I'm messing. Clayton, we love you, bro. We love you.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, the courthouse itself, you know, and this isn't something that like makes it into the news, but it's a historical courthouse.
Yeah. It's, if you're just going there to, like, you know, my job depends on me paying attention and being able to hear everything. Okay. If it was a museum, it would be well attended.
There you go.
The wood floors creak when you step on them. There's one male bathroom up top. There's one female bathroom down on the main level. Everything is pretty much original / restored.
Yeah.
And you know, they actually upgraded the audio.
Yeah, right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And projector.
You can't hear anything. So we were there in January in late December for his kind of first initial hearings, and they've got the windows open. What the heck is going on here? Going outside. Why are we doing this? And then you get in there and you're like, okay, haven't even been here for 30 minutes, and it's already starting to get a little warm. And that was another thing too. Like during the trial, they run that furnace in the morning, and I think they turn it off because it can heat the whole place the rest of the day. But they put the press right next to that furnace, and it was cooking over there. It was very, very, very hot.
Yeah. Did you bring a seat cushion?
Yeah. So, well, and I didn't go up every day through jury selection. I didn't think that was necessary. We thought we would set the stage, kind of recap where we're at, and kind of do these individual stories. But I went up on Friday hearing that they were probably going to finish jury selection, and then they would start in the afternoon. By the time Tuesday rolled around, I was like, okay, you know, I'm young. I'm still getting a little stiff in the back. And when I stand up, my legs kind of feel like they're going to fall asleep. And so one of the producers from Dateline actually went to Walmart, and he bought a bunch of them. Not super expensive or anything. And asked me if I wanted one. I was like, yes, I do. Please and thank you.
Hey, so, hashtag Dateline. You made the Dateline special. Dadwithaphone made the Dateline special. But one thing before I forget, what was the nickname you called me? Like I would see you walking across the street. What did you call me a couple of times? It wasn't Dad with a phone. Especially during one of the trial days. I just remember walking across and hearing, "Hey, witness."
Oh yeah.
Sam calling me witness.
Witness. I didn't think you were going to be allowed in there.
They didn't allow me in there, but I got to see. I got to see old Ma and the old ex-girlfriend's mom almost get into it. Okay, Dateline calls you up, says, "Hey, we want you," and you were a real strong narrative throughout the Dateline. And I'll shout out to Ashley for doing the 48 Hours piece, competing all over there on those networks. We're on YouTube right now. We could talk about everybody. But shout out to all of the reporters that did the longer form stuff. But when Dateline called you, and it was before, like it wasn't, we knew the pre-trial stuff, but it was before we had gotten into trial and really knew everything. How was that experience for you, man? I mean, that was the first time for you.
It was weird for a number of reasons. One, I'm the one that asks the questions every single day. You know, to get there, I'm like, okay, like I'd studied my notes and stuff the day before, not knowing exactly what was going to happen. They had pages and pages of questions. I think it was almost a 2-hour long interview. And to put that into perspective, when I have what we call day turns, a story we do in a day, which is most of the stuff that we do, my interviews are 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes tops.
Gotcha.
Not 2 hours. A lot of times they are even shorter than that, like 5 minutes, if I know what I need in and out. So it's interesting to be on the other side. I came in makeup in a suit. My makeup wasn't strong enough because they had so many cameras and lights. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is the big time. And it was kind of, in a way, it was kind of refreshing to talk about it with Andrea. Andrea's great, and all the while, like, there are so many different monitors set up, and we're in this space. Not even in the Springs. It was kind of outside of town, and Colorado Springs, and it was kind of.
And he froze, but he'll be back. Sam ain't going nowhere. His internet's just catching up. But you there, buddy? I lost you.
Surreal, to be honest.
Oh, there you are. There you're back.
It was kind of surreal because at the end of the day, I'm just doing my job. Like, this is what they pay me to do. This is what I was hired to do. This is normal. And then all of a sudden, you meet the producers, and they're kind of like, okay, we're from NBC, we're working together, this is good. And then they're like, hey, you know this case really well. We want to sit you down for an interview. It's like,
yeah,
okay. If somebody would have told me that just a few years into my career that I'd be sitting down for a national show, I'd be like, yeah, you're a little out there.
It's that overachiever, Sam. You did excellent. Tell me about the emotional toll, because you're a human. This is your job. You're a journalist. You're this, that, and the other. But the things that you heard in that courtroom and the things that took place and the horrificness that happened up the street from me here, that's not normal for people. It's not even normal for people to hear and to be a part of those stories. Sometimes I think it's not normal. And so I want you to explain, I'll ask you this. I lost sleep over this. Did you lose sleep over this case?
Oh, yeah. Just kind of as a profession, we run on coffee, and I drink a lot of coffee, and I had a lot of quick sleeps. I mean, even during the trial, I talked about this in some of my Facebook lives too. A lot of people, you try to separate your work life from your personal life. There was no doing that. There was no chance you're going to do that. And again, I kind of set myself up for that because I asked to be on this case the whole way, which is fine. And I'm glad I did that. But, there are days when you come back home and for me, I have to process it. I have to be okay with it. And that's really not even the right way, because you certainly can't be okay with a murder. But I try to process, okay, why did this happen? Let's go through everything again, and just kind of get it off your conscience, because it's not healthy to live with all the time. So, for me, I tried focusing on keeping things in the light. I've been in touch with members of both families, which, if you're not immediate, you don't really get the access to the information that the immediate family would get.
Yeah.
And that's by design. They don't want things leaking out. And then hearing that, there are family members on both sides that are like, okay, we are looking to you kind of as a beacon of information, kind of brings it to another level. Why we do what we do. We don't do it for likes, for comments, for clicks, for ratings. Are those important? Absolutely. It's a business. But that's not, at least for me, that's not why I do this, because it would be so easy to get lost into that kind of social currency, if you will. But at the end of the day, if people are engaging with your content and thinking about things, not telling them how to think, but thinking about things, that's what you want at the end of the day. So back around. Yeah, I mean, there are absolutely times I'm coming home and I'm like, how did we even get here? What is going on? And try to keep the focus on the story. There's a lot of rumor and speculation. I think that was kind of tied to the secrecy a little bit, at least, which is going to happen. And social media plays into that too. But for me, I also have, I knew this was going to be a stressful business. And I know I have friends that have post-traumatic stress disorder from stories they've dealt with. I know there have been people that have got out of this business because they just can't let it go, per se. And I'm not saying, and for me, am I ever going to let this go? No, it's not going to be in the forethought of my mind.
But every Thanksgiving or whatever, you're gonna remember Kelsey.
Thanksgiving is never going to be the same.
Thanksgiving is never going to be the same. We don't have to. No, the emotional side is just so. It's one thing to engage on social media, and a lot of people do right here in this YouTube, and they followed the case all the way through. And Kelsey has captured the hearts of millions around the globe. And so people are emotionally engaged, but to actually sit in those rooms, to struggle with the hard seat, the windows open, try to do your job, try to separate it. In my mind, had to have been crazy. And again, nothing against age, bro, but you're living 25, and this is again something super abnormal for people to go through. And so, kudos, bro. You did awesome on that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. It's not the elephant in the room. It's the blonde in the room. The blonde, the story of Crystal, the things in which came out throughout the case. And for everyone out there, I'm going to go through question and answers. I got a time limit on Sam, so I know when he needs to go. I'm watching, and we'll do some question and answers. But I've got your questions. But I want to talk about Crystal for a second. Okay. And I want to talk about Patrick got his due. I could go there, but everybody knows the judge was very clear. Life plus 156 plus some extra change, so it's everybody know Patrick got his due. When we think about Crystal, there are, I don't know if I can say this, but there are developments, and even you've done a story, I believe tonight, about Crystal. And tell me, when we talk about Crystal, what do you think? And then what do you think about her deal and how that we know this is why I think Patrick almost got away, because everyone wants to say, well, without Crystal, they would have never got Patrick. Right. And so I always say, well, are you telling me he almost committed the perfect murder, except that he involved Crystal because of, could they have gotten Patrick without Crystal first? No. That's an easy one.
Because they don't have a story.
They don't have that story.
You can't tell how it happened. Your jury's just going to sit there
and go phone pings. What are these? We don't know these. So without that story behind there, without the story of the body, the tote, it's hard. Yep. So then once we heard Crystal's story, once we saw the phone interaction she had with Patrick, from those, have you gone over those PDFs, the high-res versions of the phone interaction, that they showed on the whiteboards?
Yeah, we saw it in court. It was more detailed, I guess, because you got to see the entire report from especially Kevin Hoyland. So you got to see actually where the phones were.
And then, but more important, one I'm talking about is kind of like, she had long conversations with Patrick between Idaho and coming here and cleaning and all those things. And there's some, not speculation, but there are experts out there that may have a spin on this differently. And I just want maybe can you talk about that?
As far as?
Yeah, that stuff we talked about earlier and about what you think about Crystal, and then, kind of contain it with Crystal.
Yeah. So, and we did the story today, and I knew it was going to kind of be a bit of a hot button issue. Let me just put that out there.
We like hot button issues here, by the way.
Yeah.
Click like and subscribe right now. I'm just messing with you.
No, I know. So the story today, and kind of talking with some advocates and kind of people that are paying attention, they have pretty good reason to believe, and I sat down and talked to them for about an hour today, that whatever sort of relationship this was between Patrick and Crystal was that of domestic violence. Let me put the asterisk on it right now. I'm not saying that is an excuse for her to do what she did. Fact is, it's not at all. But some of the behavior that she exhibits, some of us from the outside go, how the heck can you drive 12 hours one way so many times? How do you do that? As a nurse, you supposed to be pretty upstanding. You take an oath, something of that nature. How do you do this? How do you not speak up and stop this? Because ultimately, she could have stopped it, and that is something that she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life. Plea deal aside, prison time aside, that's a guilty conscience. And you don't put time on a guilty conscience. To that end, I think
I'm with you. I'll ask a question to mix in here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors. Everybody's talking on the internet. Everybody's screaming about this, that, and the other. But when it comes to the maximum sentence, it's in my understanding, unless there is some super intervention from somewhere else, it would have to be some crazy intervention from somewhere, that the judge is kind of bound to a 3-year maximum by the law.
Yeah, that's correct. He already accepted the plea deal. There is no trial. There is no nothing. So if the crime is found to be aggravated, and for the crime to be aggravated, it could. Let me back up.
Lots of check boxes.
Yeah, there is. Again, the only crime that we're technically talking about is her moving and then destroying the cell phone.
Yep, exactly. Okay? We're not talking about the crime that Patrick's had been charged with.
And I know that she cleaned it up. I know that she was there for the fire. She could be, if they really threw the book at her, she could be facing attempted murder several times. Accomplice after the fact, accessory, almost
on and on and on.
Yeah. So she could have been facing a lot more time, granted. But the only charge that she has in front of her is the single count of tampering with physical evidence. So that is why it's going to be interesting to hear her attorney talk about it next year. The fact that, for the crime to be aggravated, and I remember Dan May saying this at some point, it's as simple as the crime happening inside her home, her being Kelsey's home. So did Crystal have Kelsey's phone inside Kelsey's house? To my knowledge, no. She went over there afterward, but did not. So it's going to be interesting to kind of hear that motion, that legal brief, whatever you want to call it. Because, the prosecution, I have to imagine, they have, Dan May said that she deserves every single day that she gets. And he kind of walked it back saying, we'll talk about her sentencing at that hearing. But, they threw the book at Patrick. Why would they not throw the book at Crystal?
Judge Sells is, and I have this again, insider maybe info, even on other cases here, Judge Sells is a very strict by the book, no nonsense. He's getting people's attention. Let's put it that way. There are people taking note that Judge Sells is handing down sentences that are no nonsense, not only just in Patrick's case, but in other cases. And so, but legally he has to get to that, and the judge has to be able to explain why he's adding the aggravated. He can't just say, I'm adding the aggravated. The judge has to actually make that argument, and there'll be argument from the defense and the prosecution on why he should or shouldn't.
But yeah, the prosecutors will argue, and the judge will rule in agreement, or against. But so, I mean, if it's not, at most she faces, I think it's 18 months, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of time. And it doesn't even carry a mandatory prison time. So
could be 18 months county jail. Yeah.
Yeah, but even that, I mean,
it doesn't. You could probation.
So
yeah. I don't. The reason. So I understand. A little bit of both of what we there, the domestic thing, and the judge is bound by the law. And so I kind of just, I know you get questions, I get questions. He's bound by a law here. He can't just throw out the sentencing laws. And so he's bound by those laws. She will have a hard life ahead of her either way it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think it will ever change in that. But do you think there are things that there are things that are pressing at people? Do you have a feeling either way on maybe where the remains of Kelsey were dumped or gotten rid of?
I think I think the landfill search, the needle in the haystack saying that was pretty much verbatim what they were looking for. But then to hear, I think it was former Commander Chris Adams, he's now a CBI as an agent, to hear him say, we had just learned about the significance of Everett steel within the last few weeks, so that they went over there based on the silver galvanized trash can that the ranch hands essentially placed on the property, and that her ashes and the pallets and whatever else he burned, the bloody evidence that even Crystal had was in there. The ranch hands weren't too specific on, because they didn't know. They had a lot of trash that they got rid of. Yeah. So I think Everett Steel is a certainly good place to look, and they had said that they were actually just looking there recently. So I don't know. I think that would be a good place to start, because in reality we don't know the thoroughness of that fire. That's kind of a nasty thing to say, but it's true. I mean,
yeah,
like a human body is easy to burn, and we don't know. The only person that knows how thorough that fire was is the guy who's going to be in prison for the rest of his life, unless there's a miraculous appeal or something like that. But yeah, my first thought would be Everett Steel. Of course, based on some of the testimony that we heard, Tyler County is a vast, mountainous, remote area. And imagine if you grew up there, which I'm pretty sure he has since a young age, not his life, but since a young age, you're going to know that land better than anybody else is going to know that land. So, the only reason they looked for the landfill in the river is because Crystal says that's what Patrick told him.
Yep.
So, I don't know. My short answer is I don't know.
No, I got you. No, I'm with you. So let's switch gears here. Let's see what we got going on here. I know that this is a little different on YouTube. We're gonna pull some questions real quick. I had some come in earlier. By
the way, I can go probably another 20-25. We'll extend it a little bit.
Look at that. Sam just gave me 25 more minutes. Well, then I'm going to go a different direction.
My answers have been a little long, so that's kind of on me.
I like a long answer. Personal question. Sam, not married. You got a girlfriend, Sam?
I'm not answering that.
Ooh.
Just kidding. Yeah, I do have a girlfriend.
You better answer that, because if she's listening right now, you're in trouble, bro.
Yeah. Well, that's not something I go to broadcast.
No, I know, but yeah, I just.
I mean, there have been so many things. Let me turn red now. Like, there have been so many. Are you married? I have a daughter I want to set you up with. Blah blah blah. That's it.
That's why we just dispelled all that. Sam's taken.
Yeah.
Seats taken, kids.
Taken.
No, and so how long you been there at KOAA, and what's the culture there compared to some of the other news stations? Well, you've only worked at one other, but in the area, kind of, do you like it? You like your business? You like your job?
Absolutely. It is the best place to work in town. And I don't say that to be competitive. It's true. Our building, our facility is phenomenal. It's so there are market rankings, right? And New York City is number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, Chicago is number 3. Denver, for comparisons, like 12, 14, give or take. Top 20 at minimum.
Okay.
And Colorado Springs is like 85, 88. We're actually growing. And it's the Colorado Springs Pueblo market. Of course, we span forever.
Yeah.
So it's we'll call it mid-major. As far as mid-major stations go, there is probably no better station than ours for so many reasons. One, the building that we are in Colorado Springs is incredible. It actually used to be a Boeing building. We bought it from them, and our set is way ahead of its time. For a mid-major market, we really act like a top tier. And we don't just act like that is an expectation. You come in, this is a market leader, has been for decades. We have some generational talent. One of our main anchors, Rob, meteorologist Mike, they've both been there, I think, over 3 decades.
Y'all hear that, boys and girls? I just want to recap what he just said. The best station in Colorado Springs, and they let Sam come on Dad with a phone. Forget about everybody else. I don't need anybody else. I got the best.
True. Yeah, I mean, they give us quality gear. We have all the tools. We've got a touchscreen monitor in our set. We've got cameras all over. We've got Skype capabilities. If it absolutely came down to it, we could take a live shot off someone's phone. So
I know y'all done that to me a couple of times.
Yeah. No, we have really good tools. I mean, as a reporter, you cannot ask for anything more.
So there it is. That's a plug for KOA for all you young reporters coming up. As this thing winds down, as we go to, well, first of all, Sam's been kicked out of court. You got kicked out of court today, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just me. It was
everybody.
Yeah, whenever there's a custody hearing, they do that to protect the family and the privacy of the child, which is absolutely a good thing. There was one hearing way back when, I'm not sure exactly, but they kind of let some things slip out a little bit, and then they're like, oh wait, we should be kicking out the public. So we always get, and here's the thing, you go to say that you went. When you run a story and it doesn't show one, for instance, something on that doesn't show the defense in a good light. I always tried to get in touch with Adam Steigerwald. Was hardly ever successful. In fact, he hung up on me one time. But
if you don't know who Adam Steigerwald is, he's the PR officer for the DA's office.
No. He's the main defense attorney.
Oh, the main. Oh no, defense. Yeah, you're defense. Yeah. You're right. My bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, the public defender's office has a policy that they don't talk about.
They don't talk to media.
Cases, which is, I was like, okay, I get that. And I explained who I was. And he's like, Sam, I can't talk to you. And click.
Click.
But I was like, I just want an explanation. I'm not looking for an interview. I just want to be like, hey, do I have this right? Do I understand this right?
You're trying to verify something that you thought you heard, thought you listened, and they wouldn't even give you any verification.
Because this is complicated, and everyone doesn't want to talk because everything's under seal, and so
it was hard for you guys to do your jobs.
Super hard. Yeah,
it was super. And when I say do your job, you do this under the constitutional oath of we have an open court. And this is why the news shows up, because the news is kind of, or the traditional media has been the eyes and ears of the people in that open court scenario.
Yeah, our jobs, it's one of the few jobs protected by the Constitution.
Yeah.
It's in, it's in the Bill of Rights for a reason. And so,
How is it weird to see the evolution, even of security? Like at one point, we could have reached out and touched Patrick, and then there became a time when it was in and out of the courthouse, the very little access to Patrick. How was it weird to see that evolution right in front of you?
the first day when we got there, and they blocked off that side street. I don't remember what it is. And then I'm trying to remember. I don't remember there always being metal detectors. Do you?
Oh yeah, there was always metal detectors at the court, but they used to let you. I mean, I was broadcasting live out in the gallery at one point when Patrick walked from the elevator to the back.
Yeah, they didn't think anything of it. I mean, we could all. Here's the thing too. It's a small courthouse, so I think they saw that, and probably the deputies were a little overwhelmed because look, their butts on the line here. They have to protect this person, regardless of what he's charged with facing. Nonetheless, that is their job.
Yep.
And so when you've got like 10 reporters going like this, or the famous shot of you, you can get a little nervous, I think, as a deputy. And so I remember talking to them, and there was never like a very clear, legitimate threat. I think just with the attention the case had, they're like, they don't want to take any chances.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Hey, Sam, somebody's asked, did you enjoy this enough to continue to do or kind of go after maybe some criminal cases? Or is this kind of, hey, this happened, it grabbed my heart, but I'm going to do sports and fire or move? Or is this a genre in which you enjoyed?
Yeah, it could be a beat moving forward. That's what we call it.
Okay.
So my when I got here, my main focus was fire mitigation, fire prevention. I'm trained in that, so I kind of speak the language. And whenever there's a big fire, I'm the one that goes generally, as well as another one of our reporters who's been here for 20 years.
Okay.
He's kind of the main one, and I kind of focus more on the firefight sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think there's an impact to telling crime stories, and it's not.
And we froze, but he'll be back. He didn't go nowhere. It's just the interweb trying to catch up. We're trying to break the internet tonight.
Yeah, there we go. We back?
Yeah, we're back. We're breaking the internet tonight, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. I think there's an importance to telling crime stories, and it gets back to ensuring that the criminal justice system does what it's supposed to do. And I say that under two lights. One, if Patrick Frazee really did do this, he should be held accountable. Two, if he did not do this, he should not spend the rest of his life in prison. And in the balance of that are families, and families that, absolutely are dealing with worst case scenarios on both sides. So I could see that being a point of focus. I'm a very detail oriented person. So yeah, that could be something.
You're moving this way. You liked it. You're detailed. You're going that way.
I don't like that someone is a victim of crime or anything, but I think I like the role of telling the story of what happened and how something plays out on the legal system. So,
gotcha. Oh, let's see what else. Hey, Sam, I'll open this. You got any questions for me? I know you ask a lot of questions, but I want to give you at least an opportunity.
How does it feel for you now that it's done? Not done, but mostly done.
Yeah, like for me, it's crazy. I've been still trying to focus on Crystal and trying to wrap my head around how I know how she got the deal, because they didn't know what she knew. and like she didn't even say anything to them until after she had the deal. So I can understand how she got such a good deal. But it's been interesting for me to watch the actual judicial system work through things. And then now that it's over, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to go on vacation or something, go to Florida. This whole internet thing, whether people believe me or not, it wasn't like I thought this was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to follow a murder case. If you would have asked me a year ago, I was reporting on deer crossing the road and some crazy politician or something, you know? And so people have asked me to look at other cases just around town, and there's some interesting cases around town. And I probably will do that around here, but since it's over with, I want to celebrate Kelsey. I want Kelsey's memory to live on. So, and you and I know that the stories aren't done yet. There are still people out there that are going to tell this story in their own way, whether it be a major network or whether it's a blogger or a YouTuber or somebody. And so there's still people that are going to continue to tell that story. I do feel a little bit of making sure that, like, I'm not going to, I've said it here. There's other places that have contacted me, and I want to help them tell that story accurately, just like you've been able to do. That was something that you said today in just a little clip I saw, and it was you wanted people to relive as close to as possible as what happened in that courtroom. And that's what you were doing with your live videos and going through with your notes. And I think that's an important thing. And like I said, we're lucky to have Sam here in Colorado Springs and the reporting that did go on. It's hard, man. It's hard for me. And, you know, I got kicked out. I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go to trial. I got kicked out of a couple of hearings because I was on the witness list. No matter why I was there, why that all went down. I heard a little bit in those closing arguments, and I saw a little bit on the screen in those closing arguments. And I had as close a touch than anyone that was kicked out had to the trial. And man, I don't know if I got the emotional wherewithal to be able to hear that stuff. I told my wife, you know, they think they kicked me out, and I'm like, maybe I just wouldn't have been able to handle it, you know. And because when I ran out of that courtroom, when they said guilty and I ran out of that courtroom, I just wanted to scream. I just wanted to shout. I just wanted to be. And I know that if I had to hear Cheryl Berreth's testimony, or if I had to hear Kelsey's father or brother, or I don't know, I'm just, because I'm not held to the same training and standards. So I may have gotten in trouble myself. So I don't know if I'm built for all this crime stuff.
Now, let me be clear. You know, I went to journalism school, but there's nothing in journalism school about how do you emotionally handle something like this. You know, there are tools to write and
do you guys have this? You mentioned you know, colleagues and other people you know that have gotten PTSD from stories and stuff like that. I don't know if those were war stories or stuff like this, but does the news have a therapist?
Yeah, I mean, that's available if we want it.
Gotcha.
And another thing too is a lot of our therapy is kind of talking to one another. You know, we compete with one another, but and there are markets that are different. For example, Boston. I mean, just think about the city of Boston. Hard-nosed, very competitive. Colorado Springs, not quite that level. Do we still compete? Absolutely, but we're more friendly about it, I think. You know, and I have friends that work at other stations. Ashley at KK and I are really good friends. And a lot of times during the trial, we would just kind of chat after we were all done, and like, okay, let's kind of vent about this, and what we think about it, because that helps. I think kind of talking about it gets it off your chest, off your shoulders. For me, I didn't even realize it, but talking through it at the, you know, in these Facebook Live recaps, I mean, at the end of the day too, kind of it not only freshens your memory about everything that happened, but it lets you kind of put it to bed in a way, at least for that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Until you heard that next section or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's the interaction been on those things, man? Because you open yourself up.
Yeah, like I said, we kept it pretty straight and narrow on the line.
Gotcha.
Until the end, because I think people wanted to know, and that's fine. I think it was crazy. I didn't, some of those videos got, and this is not something I was paying attention to. A lot of times I'd go back, read comments, try to answer.
Bro, it's okay, man. It's okay. You can.
No, really. I'm like, I got pages on
exactly
to go through.
When you're old and gray, bro. When you're old and gray.
But yeah, I mean, we had over, I think, like 1.2K at one point on one of the videos, and I thought we'd get a few hundred. I mean, when I tweeted the preliminary hearing in February, I gained darn near 2,000 followers that day.
Yeah. The world is a funny place now where we are connected. We are so close to each other, even if we're so far away. I mean, so it is we are infants, and you're younger even than a lot of main reporters. Like, you're younger than a lot of main reporters. I guess not. I mean, Ashley's young. I'll be honest with you. I thought all the reporters were young blondes by turning on the TV. And so to see a refreshing guy on there and have a different aspect, I think it's a good thing. And so I don't know, but you're younger than most. And then to be put in this thing and to see it happen, we are infants and in this whole live television. I mean, we got people watching now, whether it be 300 or whether it be 2, the audience has changed, but it lives forever. Mm-hmm. And that's where, like, I look at this, and I had this epiphany. I had an epiphany yesterday about this. There will come a time in Patrick's life that they may let him watch YouTubes in prison. There will come a time when he may be able to listen to blogs in prison. We're not that far away. They got TVs, they have radio, they have the traditional mediums, but there may come a time when Patrick Frazee, in his lifetime, at least, and other prisoners will be able to listen to the lives and the YouTubes and the news broadcast. The news broadcast, they already get to see some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there'll be a time when maybe Patrick tunes into Dad with the Phone and says, what the hell was this guy saying the whole time, or whatever. But either way, before I'm going to let you go, but I got a couple more quick questions about this case.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oma. I mean, I say Oma. Mrs. Frazee. Yeah. Sheila Frazee. When the initial preliminary hearing and they called her as a witness and she said, I'll only testify if you give me immunity. What do you think she needs immunity from? Or do you think it was just because she knew what was probably happening?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but Dan May said that the reason he wanted to call her was because she witnessed the fire. And I think she said something about the size of the fire. Why would you be having such a large fire? Which to me, it made it seem like, okay, validation to the story. Of course, she has the right to plead the fifth, and she did. I don't think a mother would want to go against their son. But then you see her information written down on the jail notes. And we know Patrick is somehow involved in getting this inmate out of, getting him bonding or bailing out. And her numbers are down on the notes. It's like, why are her numbers on the notes? That's something that they're still investigating those notes. So we'll see what happens there.
So you're saying there's a lot she could be, or there could be it could just simply be mom doesn't want to testify against her son, but then there is the little caveat. Her number does show up on the notes, and there are some very strong allegations on those notes.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And so there could be additional crimes. So I could see that.
Yeah.
And then only because he was brought up in the case, he testified in the case. Sean Frazee testifies about his brother's whereabouts. He doesn't really testify against his brother. It's more about his, isn't it, in my frame of what I have info is, it was more about when he showed up on Thanksgiving, a few things about where the car was parked, but Sean Frazee, in your mind, knew nothing of any of this.
Correct. I know there was a lot of speculation because he works for the Colorado Springs Police Department.
He was with Patrick on Thanksgiving. He was with Patrick when the phone came over.
Exactly. So. The phone came over and they met in like the parking lot of the Five Guys. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't want anything to do with his brother. That's what it really seemed like to me. And he's a prosecution witness. He's not a defense witness. So that tells you something. And I noted this in my notes. I saw it with my own two eyes. On his way out, he shot Patrick a pretty strong look and rolled his eyes. That I don't do that to my sister, who I'm really close with. So it's a very interesting family. I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There you go. Very interesting family dynamics. Hey, Kay, here's an internet rumor. Maybe Sam can shed some light on this because people have asked. Do you know who Tom Smith is? The Tom Smith that's been talking about on the internet?
I've been in conversation with him. I've been in conversation with a lot of people, actually.
How did you play off these internet folks or like the Facebook, social media? Because you did talk to a lot of them.
Yeah. We did the story on the petition team because I thought that was relevant. People kind of with no actual stake in this. And when I say that, they're not family. But I thought it was interesting that they, decided to do that. And this being my first time major, again, crime story from start to finish. I don't even know if that's normal. But it was interesting. A lot of people bring things to your attention that, look, I'm living and breathing this. Sometimes on a Saturday night, I don't want to dig through documents. I just want to breathe.
Absolutely.
So I don't. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So people can find you on Twitter at Sam Kramer TV. People can find you on Facebook at Sam Kramer TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's with the TV? Just because it's TV?
That's when you meet or when you start with a station or an outlet, a lot of them have social media guidelines.
Okay. So
like my last station, it was more toward their branding. When I got here, they're like, just keep it generic.
Oh, I got you. Instead of being Sam Kramer at KOAA.
Yeah, like Sam KOAA or something like
that. I got you. So that's where you can find Sam. He's been following this case all the way through. Man, I was surprised when you sent me that text and we're like, hey, they approved this thing. I had to send that email in and get corporate approval. You got a great boss, by the way. And so, hey man, thanks for coming on tonight. I know that people in all shapes and forms have wanted to ask this or that, but I think giving people just a debrief, a little chit chat here and there, it really helps them. Even these internet people cope with what they know happened. I respect you, man. You did an awesome job. And I know that this case isn't completely over with and we'll see each other again. And, but from the bottom of my heart, for real, man, I'm just literally a dad in my living room right now. And, it's cool to have you, caliber of reporter that you are, caliber of journalist, and the coverage you gave, will speak forever. Like Kelsey's children's children may want to know what happened, and I know that they'll be able to to see that through some of the reports you made. And so thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me again. You know, you were persistent, but that's good. You know.
Well, you guys don't come easy, bro. I mean, yeah, y'all don't. It's fun. I'm interested to see where. I'm interested to see more of you in Facebook Lives on other things. The way that you debriefed, especially when stories maybe don't get all the attention. And even in this case, I know you ran stories about Jepsy, who's still missing, and we don't have questions and stuff like that. And so I know that you can't cover every missing person and every missing girl. And this world is a dangerous place and got some evil in it. And we've seen some of that evil through the things that happened with the Kelsey Berreth case. But man, thanks for everything you do, bro. And I know these people watching, everybody on here loves you and thanks you for what you've done.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Well, cool, man. Get some sleep tonight. We'll tune in to Sam on Facebook and Twitter, but then also go over there and smash the like on KOAA's channel, Facebook, and find them all there. So we'll see you later, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll see you around.
All right, we'll see you, bro. All right. We just closed up with Sam. We just closed up with Sam right here on Dad with the Phone. Thank you guys so much for joining this story, hanging with us tonight. I'm gonna kill some of this. Boom. I might stick on here a little bit, answer some questions. I hope that you guys enjoyed that little chit chat with Sam. I can get rid of these earplugs now. Y'all didn't even know I had them in the whole time. Drinking my tea. Thank you guys for real. Everybody online tonight. I didn't watch chat a lot, man. I wanted to get some things in. I wanted you guys to get to know Sam a little bit, but I also wanted to just kind of listen. You guys know Sam's coverage. You can go check out Sam's coverage. We didn't need to go over every little detail of this case. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I really do. I want to do more interviews. Ashley. Maybe you want to tell me why KKK TV is the best news station. I'll have you on too, Ashley. If you want to join Dad with the Phone, Ashley, you know who I'm talking about. Fox 20. Laura, I'll talk to you about the case. You have a different perspective and came on. Call a dad up. You know what I'm saying? Sam is awesome. Dude, super pumped. Great little stream tonight. Thank you guys for joining. I think I'm going to kill this one so that I can get it up on Facebook. So again, thanks for joining Dad with the Phone tonight. You can find me at the links below, and you go smash on Sam's page, show him some love, let him know that you enjoyed tonight. Man, if you want to call, if you want to be, don't everybody call, not all of you call, but if you really want to thank, call up the news station, KOAA, call up their news desk and just say, hey, thanks for letting Sam go on Dad with a Phone. That'll be good. Hey, I'm going to be back on Facebook in just a little bit. I got some stuff we need to do, get this out there. This has been a great show tonight. Sam was an awesome deal. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the flip side.